It should go without saying that while working as a member of a team, it's always important to play to your strengths as much as possible. Each class has its own strengths and weaknesses, and today I think I'll be giving you guys a few pointers for the range type VR Masters, Ninjas, and CACs. Realistically, since there are infinite situations you'll be bumping into, I won't be able to cover everything, so this information is going to be universal and applicable to wherever you see fit. That's a nice word to use right there, applicable. Try it sometime, I'm telling you, seriously. The range type ninjas specialize in ranged combat, and can dish out and sustain damage from a moderate distance from their target. As a range type character, you'll notice that majority of your attacks will disrupt or knock your enemy away from you. Your jutsu have decent cooldown times and can even be used at mid to far range for greater effectiveness. A lot of the range type jutsu can be used to keep an opponent at bay or give a nice burst of damage to an unaware or scrambling enemy. Some of the range type jutsu have pretty decent tracking and flight speeds, so be sure to experiment and find out the behavior of your skills in some practice matches or PvE situations. Let's talk general strategy behind the range type character. When you're playing the range type, a nice frame of reference is that you're like an archer or a spellcaster, and you get benefits for playing that way. Your team is relying on you to annoy, disrupt, and pick off enemy team members during scrambles, since you can attack running opponents with a much higher rate of success than your other allies, like the attack types or the heal type ninja. As a range type character, it's not uncommon to kite your enemies to try and get them to focus on you, opposed to your other teammates. And if they don't, you pretty much end up picking them off, so it's basically a nice default strategy in any game mode. If you're able to keep on tagging your enemy with projectiles, they won't be able to let off their jutsu, or they'll end up getting so annoyed that they want to take you out by yourself. To be quite honest with you, your biggest strength is in one-on-one confrontations, since a good range player can control the space between them and their enemy. Some range type jutsu even have effects that will keep distance from your opponent, or damage them over time to keep the damage output up, making you much more effective the more comfortable you are with switching between ranges of combat between you and your opponent. The title is ranged, but you shouldn't be afraid to mix in a little bit of melee to set up for some of your jutsu, or to keep on stalling enemies. Certain mentors like Sasuke have a perfect set of cancels to keep the pain on their target, and there are a ton of weapon choices for your CACs that will make it so you can handle your enemies at varying ranges too. Mixing things up is all part of mind games that can put your opponent in a state of second guessing and trying to think their approaches before coming towards you. Of course, range characters can't have all positives, and much like attack types, you aren't exactly the pinnacle of defense and survivability. Getting into situations where you're alone against more than one player that knows what they're doing is pretty much almost hopeless all the time, so don't be afraid to use the battlefield to your advantage. You can snipe enemies from far away and clean up when your partners let someone slip through the cracks. Don't be afraid to wait in the wings for the perfect opportunity to attack, and then strike. Your mortal enemies in most game modes are most likely going to be the defense type, since they can block off objectives from you, and as of right now, you aren't exactly equipped with things to deal with that area denial outside of Amaterasu to fake break guards and whatnot. Realistically, in any situation where you're distracting a single player, it's not a negative for you, like pretty much. If you're distracting one person, you're doing good. So losing out on a point or the flag because your opponent is really good at keeping you back means you should probably approach with a strategy and allies nearby if getting that point is 100% necessary for getting the game back. If not, consider changing your objectives just for the sake of keeping the momentum going. Of course, this is assuming that you're playing against a player who knows what they're doing and they can shut down the momentum in the first place. Any jutsu or skill setups that slow down or lock up your jutsu are typically things that you want to avoid and be on the lookout for, so even some heal type setups are worth keeping an eye on. All in all, the range type is a very powerful set and has different angles and advantages you can take and make use of by just getting used to the map and your offensive options. While their ultimate jutsu options are typically lackluster, their jutsu that they can use in regular play are great for putting things in their own favor and sweeping up after teammates. Knowing what to do in combat is always important, but I think it's actually easier when you take the time to learn and know your role. Thank you dudes for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you're feeling curious, feel free to check out some of the links in the description. I'll be seeing you all in the very next video. So take care of yourselves, be good people, and exfoliate. And for the guy who's leaving dislikes, thank you for your view. I see you. I'm gonna headbutt your throat. You're not slick. You're not.
Where have you been?